We are learning Perek Yud Daled, and remember we're going in order: Perek Yud Beis, Perek Yud Gimel, Perek Yud Daled, which has to do backwards machshava dibur ma'aser. First Perek. By the way, I think I misspoke on Sunday. I said machshava dibur ma'aser forward. The program was just a mistake. It's the first Perek, meaning Perek Yud Beis, tells us about the unbelievable influence that we have not only in this world but in the Shamayim with our Maisim, which I suppose is somehow the most pashut, the most obvious. What you do has an effect on the Shamayim. Perek Yud Gimel, which we spent a good amount of time on, talks about how even our Dibur and even the Hevel Piv, even the noise or the kol that we do, even a Godel Anocha, Shiva Shaber is called Gufay Shaladam, Kol Tinoika Shil Beis Rabban, different sounds that we make, even that has an effect on the Shemayim. And Perek Yud Daled talks about machshava, so minakal ol akosha, if you will. So it's not machshava dibur ma'aser, which works this way, but ma'aser dibur machshava, which works that way. These three, let me remind you. Remember, there's the person. Let's think about ourselves as people that can think, people that can talk, and people that can do. Animals can do. We don't know about their thinking. They think something, but they certainly can't talk. So these three are what defines the person, a human being: machshava, dibur, and ma'aser. They are, Kabbalistically speaking, keneged, nefesh, ruach, neshama. Three parallel concepts. Complicated stuff. Remember, this is not a schmooze. These are the important ideas here. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. So nefesh has to do with the Maisa of a person, nefesh, even though in modern Hebrew that's not the way it is. Nefesh is your psychology or something like that, personality. It has to do with the Maisa of the person, that's the nefesh, that's the lowest part of us. And the ruach is, we all know that, which allows us to speak. And nefesh, ruach, neshama is the neshama. So the machshava, dibur, maisa has to do with machshava keneged neshama, ruach keneged dibur, and nefesh keneged maisa. Since we say nefesh, ruach, neshama, not neshama, ruach, nefesh, so the order of the Nefesh HaChaim is maisa, dibur, machshava. That's the math here. So now we're up to. So we're going. They're both the same thing. There's no particular reason to the order of this, except for that when we're thinking about how a person was created, so soif ma'aser machshava tchila starts off with machshava. So when we're talking about the creation of a person, we're talking about machshava, dibur, ma'aser. When we're talking about how we're relating to our lives, so we think about Maisa, Dibur, Machshava. We should not think about it that way. If you're a Neshama Yid, first you think, then you talk, then you do. But if you're not a Neshama Yid, so first you do, then maybe you think about it afterwards, and you're always talking. Always talking.
But human effort is Machshava Dibur Ma'aser.
Machshava, Dibur, Ma'aser.
There seems to be a whole range between Maisa and Dibur. Is that part of Nefesh, or is that part of...
Where does one end, where does the other begin?
Like the emotional realm, that, like you're saying, the secular, the
psychology of a person.
Why can't that be Nefesh reaching up and filling that whole space up?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Very good point. And the Ramchal speaks this point out. The Ramchal speaks about 9 levels, I believe, between 9 levels of Dibur, which reach you until 9 levels of Maisa, which reach you all the way up to your psychological and personality development, right? You wrote a book about this. And then there's another 9 levels of Dibur, believe it or not, but it's a Dibur of Tefillah, Dibur of mitzvah, Dibur of Aver, Lashon Hara, etc. And then there's Machshava Neshama, which also has many madregas, which actually that's what we're holding on today, Yud Dalet. So just wanted to make sure we all get the structure here correctly. So we are now on Perek Yud Dalet learning about the Machshava, read, Neshama of a person. And let me throw one more trifecta into this, and that is that there are four Elamos. Another thing. Should make a chart, yeah? There's four Elamos. There's somebody do that, please, for homework. That would be. There's the world of Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya. I often say, look at it as a sort of an assembly line of creation until something comes to Maisa, to actual physical world. That's Maisa, right? So that's the world of Asiya. That's easy. Maisa, Asiya. It's even the same word. Maisa, Asiya. That which gets done. Before that is the world of. On top of that, let's say is the world of Yitzira, which is where Dibur comes into it. That's the world of Ruach. Vayipach ba'apav lishmas Chaim. Targum famously says. Ruach memalala, Ruach. So Ruach has to do with Dibur, and Ruach has to do with that aspect of the Neshama. And then there's the world of Bria, which is the world of Neshama. And what's important to understand, with the insight, if you will, of the Mekubalim, which is all we need to understand about the Kabbalah here, what the insight of the Mekubalim is that our Neshama comes from the world of Bria. Neshamas were not created in Atzilus. Atzilus has to do with Heitzal Hashem. In the entire picture of creation, neshamas that we carry around with us, wherever it may be, that was created in the world of Bria. And Chazal even pinpoint where in Bria that is, because we know that the Kisei HaKavod is in the world of Bria, which has very little to do, to my understanding, with a chair, or a throne or something like that. The Kisei HaKavod is in the world of Bria. And mimenu lashonam gemara, mimenu nishamais machsavais. From there, the neshamas are carved out. Machsavais neshama. And the Gemara says, maybe Chagiga, the Gemara says that the neshama of the Zayar is Marich on this, that the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, very special neshama, was chatzuva mitachas Kisei HaKavod, or Geluza Tachas Kisei HaKavod. It seems like this is something which is new, that we're really learning today. There are different kinds of neshamas. Not all neshamas are created equal. As Americans, we don't like to hear that. But not all neshamas are created equal. There are different kinds of neshamas. And there's neshama, they all come from the Kisei HaKavod. We're going to learn a little bit about that. But there's not, you might have a very high neshama. Not everybody has the same kind of neshama. Moshe Rabbeinu had a different kind of neshama. Tachas Kisei HaKavod. And then the Chazal say, V'loi Moshe Rabbeinu levad amru al kol tzadikim. See, a tzaddik is machzeves tachas Kisei HaKavod. It's a special place for the olam of a neshamas. Now, a higher neshama is not necessarily a better person. I just want to point out, doesn't mean a better person. Everybody has a different tachlis. The Zayar says before in I think in Tikkunei Zayar in Gracious. So if you look in the Tikkunei Zayar in Gracious, it says that there's different kinds of neshamas made for different kinds of things. For instance, if you're a certain kind of neshama, you'll relate more to Kabbalah. Nister, side. If you're a different kind of neshama, you relate more to halacha. So it's not like how did you grow up, or it's not nurture, it's nature in terms of the neshama to a large degree. Everybody knows the famous story about the Arizal was giving a shir in Sfas to the Chavraya Kadisha. The Arizal was there, the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was there, the Elshach HaKadosh was there, the Rabbi Yosef Karo was there. Basically, something like this here today. It's a very chashuv chabura there. So every time the Arizal would they all gave shir. The Elshach was the big darshan, the Ramak was the and the Lechadoidi. Alkovitz, yeah, he was there. He was the Chazan. Arizal was like the Mashkiach, and Beis Yosef was the Rav, and the Alshich was the Magid. He gave the Darshan, like, what a shul. Yeah. What a shul. So every time the Arizal gave a shir, it's fast, every time everybody came, the tzaddikim came, and the Beis Yosef fell asleep. The dua. He fell asleep. Beis Yosef. We can't move without the Beis Yosef. Maran.
Wasn't his thing.
So the Arizal told him, he felt very bad. He told the Arizal, I don't know why, every time you talk, I fall asleep. He said, you have a different kind of neshama. Your neshama is for halacha, and I'm speaking for the neshama of Kabbalah. Told him to stop coming.
He was a young boy then, right?
I don't know.
I thought he was much younger than that.
Tzedek HaKaim,
You want to say something?
he obviously had a different neshama than where his source was.
You're feeding into a misnomer, and that is that like the Hasidim are Kabbalistic and the Litvaks are halachic. Probably the biggest bekubal of the whole generation is a Vilna. I think everybody's baskim that he was the bekubal of the generation, and there was like the Avnei Nezer. He was the Posek Hador, Hasidic Rebbe. The Posek Hador. It's not this. I'm anti these classifications because everybody says when you daven like a chassid, and when you learn like a litvaks. There's many chassidim that know how to learn like better than litvaks, and many litvaks know how to daven better than chassidim. It's just it has to do not with the silly divisions that we made in this world. It has to do with the neshama, where the neshama is. But there is a difference in neshama. Not every neshama. Hashem made it that way. Hashem made a situation where every neshama is not the same. Again, that's better, not worse. So here Chazal tell us Moshe Rabbeinu was a certain kind of neshama. Certain kind of a neshama. It could be treacherous to have a certain kind of neshama. Might not be fun to have a neshama which is, which has a certain kind of a different calling than other people. There are some people have the neshama. The Zohar is marich. Certain people have a neshama to blend, and some people have a neshama to stand out. It talks about the neshamas of Shimon and Levi. They're different. Shimon, not just Levi, like Moshe Rabbeinu was from Levi, but a different type of neshama. Neshama of a person who's the protester. So it doesn't make you bad or good if you do or you don't. There's different kinds of neshamas. And then there is such a thing also as a neshama klali. That's the ultimate sort of neshama where you're kolol everything in it. So it's
What's the chaya?
Okay, 1 second.
Okay.
But it's a short answer, I don't know. But the see. By the way, this is if I could just be educationally political for a moment. See, this is the problem with trying to stuff everybody into one can, because let's say kids, just try to get everybody to be the same.
Yeah.
Which is the choro, the way an educational system. That's what schools do. But it's like saying everybody should wear the same size shoe. Even the communists couldn't pull that one off. Like it doesn't work because you're talking about different kinds of neshamas. So if the Beis Yosef fell asleep by the Arizal, maybe the Arizal fell asleep by the Beis Yosef's shiurim too. I don't know. We don't have that on the historical record. But we do know that he fell asleep and it made history. Like that's like imagine like somebody here falls asleep and you make history. Well, we do a lot of history around here. A lot of history for all generations. Everybody knows the Beis Yosef. I just met a Karo who was a nephew of the
Really?
And what came to mind is to tell this lady that your grandfather fell asleep. Results. So that different kinds of neshamas for different kinds of people, or different kinds of people because of different kinds of neshamas. So that's important for us to know. Again, that's all in the world of machshava, in the world of bria, in the world of neshama. That's the parallel that we're working with right now. Just remember, the world of Bria, where the Shabbos are created, different parts of the Kisei HaKavod, K'nireh. There's the world of, parallel to that is the world of the Shabbat, obviously, because that's where the Shabbos are made, in the world of Bria. And parallel to that is the world of Machshava, which is perhaps the most interesting because we can relate the most to Machshava. But a person's Machshava, the Lashon of Chazal, you are where you think. You are, whereas the Goyim are telling us you are what you eat, you are what you think. B'koymai shel machshavta shel adam v'shel shishar brings sham hu b'koymai. It's where you're thinking. You see that Yaakov Avinu was dreaming at the Sulam. He was here on earth when he dreamt about the Sulam. But his statement was, I didn't know that I'm there. Well, he wasn't there. He was sleeping over here. But the pshat is that he was there because his machshava was there. His machshava was on top of the Sulam. That was the neshama of Yaakov Avinu.
Machshava is parallel to which
Neshama, Bria. So we're talking now on a Nefesh HaChaim is talking about machshava.
Can Neshama change in one's life?
What?
Can Neshama change during one's life? Because it's like Rabbi Akiva, right? He wasn't tzaddik when he was in the beginning, so.
He worked to his the potential.
Is the same Neshama, or like, as you said, Neshama comes from the.
How do you know what his neshama was? How do you know he was a tzaddik?
He said tzaddikim come from the Kisei HaKavod.
Right.
So not everyone's a tzaddik from the beginning.
Right.
So
So the Arizal tells us that Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgal of Moshe Rabbeinu. No, he can't change. You work it. It would be a really nice thing. Look, everybody has to keep halacha and everybody has to respect for everybody. But it would be a nice thing if there would be a Navi around that would tell everybody what their shurish on the Shabbat means. But I don't know. Some Kabbalah claim to be able to do that. I don't know.
Someone with a great.
You're a Makubal, can they do it? How do you tell somebody how do they know what their shurish on the Shabbat is? Hard to call. That's a hard call to make. Nevi'im did. So the Ramban says at Bamidbar, the beginning of Bamidbar, the Ramban says that every Jew had an opportunity to walk by Moshe Rabbeinu for a second or 2 seconds. Every single Jew, he's out there, and in that moment, he told them their shurish HaNeshama.
I didn't see
Nice experience.
Someone with a very high neshama, if they're not from, you can tell they can do amazing things or very bad things because it's driven. And they don't know where to channel it. It's still there. It's just
Absolutely true. Very, very, very provocative. Meaning, like, I'm not a Makubal, so I don't know how to tell somebody shurish on the Shabbat, but you can see clearly special the Shabbos. You do see people that are, like you say, not frum at all, but they seem to have very unusual types of neshamas. You could just see by the things that they're attracted to. There's certain things that they sort of like need to do. So and it's hard to know unless Moshe Rabbeinu is standing there telling you this is your neshama. That would be a great service if somebody could could do that because then like you don't waste like we would have. Can you imagine how beautiful it would be? Like maybe when Mashiach comes, we'll have special schools for this kind of neshama, that kind of neshama, and everybody would become great. You have a certain neshama. You should learn Said. You should learn Nigla. You should be involved in social activism. You should be involved in halacha. You should be a posek. The Gemara is Barabas to all this. The Gemara says that however don dinim mishevet donhu. The Gemara says himself. The person says, okay, let's go to court. Some people like that. You can't get through a conversation without saying, so let's go to court. Let's go to the Torah. Some people are like that. So you're laughing because you're a lawyer.
I know if you like that.
And some people like they can't. Some people, I don't do anything. I don't want to go to the Torah. I don't want to go to court. So the Gemara says, however, done didi, areza b'sheva done. Very simple. You have a done neshama. You're a done deal. You're done. Person. Everybody's a different. Somebody who loves the water. The Gemara says somebody who loves the water. He just b'sheva zvulun. He's a zvuluner. And by the way, I don't think that this necessarily anymore. Another chiddush while we're talking goes like father, son, son. So I I'm convinced that my father, Olav Shalom, was B'Shevet Zvulun, and a neshama from Zvulun. I mean, he saw water, he transformed. He spent 30 years on ships, so he's running guns for the Haganah. But the part he loved about it was the water. Other people loved the guns. They loved the Haganah, loved the state of Israel. He did all that, but the Iker was like, whoa, let's take a trip across the Mediterranean. That was his. So it was for Shevet Zvulun. I have kids from the same mishpacha that can't stand, get seasick. So it's not necessarily. It's not necessarily a familial thing. We're talking about a neshama thing. It's a neshama thing. Might be, might not be hereditary. So just because, what I'm trying to say is, just because you're one kind of a neshama doesn't mean that your kid is that kind of neshama. It doesn't mean all your kids are the same neshama. So what this means educationally, a very, very practical and important point, is that even if we don't know the cherished neshama of every one of our kids, you can know that they don't necessarily have the same type of neshama. In fact, they're all different. Every neshama is different. Even if you're in the same sort of category, they're all different. Moshe Rabbeinu is different than Yoshua. Two great tzaddikim, one after subsequent tzaddikim. But Pnei Moshe can play Achaba, Pnei Yoshua can play Alavana. There's so much written about this in Sifrei Kabbalah and in Medrash about the different kinds of neshama. It's just important to know. So that's our sugya here, is the sugya of this exact thing, like being misaked our neshama, which, how do you actually, let me just say this is the key to what we're starting to learn here. How do you, we know how you talk, blah, 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 right, talk. We know how you do. We understand sort of like the how-to of Dibur and the how-to of Maisa. What's the how-to of neshama? What is the how-to of neshama? What do you do with your neshama? Well, you know what you do with your dibor. What do you do with your neshama? So here Chazal say machshava. Machshava is what you do with your neshama. So what you think is who you are. This you'll see is very important.
Is that related?
I got like the place Moshe Shapiro Olav Shalom. So every time he spoke about the neshama, my neshama. I didn't say by neshama like everybody else says this, by neshama. Because he understood the neshama is a machshava.
Does that relate to the Pintel Yid at all?
I don't know everything fits in. Everything relates, but let's be very careful here. Let's be very careful to be sophisticated and understand each thing for what it is.
But one isn't, at least the tzaddikim come from under the Kisei covers. I mean, certain neshamas can be the tzaddikim and certain can't, or it's just everybody can reach their potential, just in a different
That's right.
expression.
Not everybody's going to be, maybe a tzaddik in the vernacular, everybody will be a tzaddik.
Mm-hmm.
But, when somebody dies, everybody's a zecher tzaddik l'vracha, even Rishai. It's not a tzaddik in terms of tzaddik yisoid olam, but not a tzaddik. Tzaddik is a certain kind of a neshama. It's not, so everyone wants their kids to be tzaddikim. But that's just a vernacular term. That's not a real term.
Doesn't mean some of them are limited in their potential.
Some people are not meant to be tzaddikim. I'll give you a very simple example from our generation. Is everybody meant to be in a base medrash all day learning? I mean, can anybody argue logically that that's the right thing for every single Jew to do? I could argue logically that there's so few people doing it that everybody who can do it should. I could hear that. I could hear Eis Lasu slash Sheve Feir Secha, but you can't throw away Shas. The whole Shas is full of Rabbi Yochanan Sadler, so those are the Gedolim. So you obviously, like, one person is meant to be able to have a dardiki, and one person is meant to be a shoemaker, and one person is meant to be an engineer and a scientist, and then there's also different neshamas. So the takeaway from the whole thing is that you can't try to make everybody the same. So everybody always tells me these words like, what happened to, coming to Eretz Yisrael, my children being tzaddikim. I hear that all the time. Oh, what happened to tzaddikim? So,
Not for me.
I think people are disappointed, particularly. Forgive me. I'm just particularly Valley Tshuva. So when they come into when they rejoin the fold, so they're always told like, you do this, and you'll live in a place where your children will be tzaddikim. And then all of a sudden, 20 years later, whoa, he's no tzaddik. But that doesn't mean that the kid doesn't have a very unique and special neshama, and it doesn't mean that there's no room for disappointment. It doesn't mean that it was wrong to become frum, because that's really through Yiddishkeit that you can actualize that neshama. So that's really the best way to do that anyway. So, but like that, it's not a one size fits all thing. And this is like key important. It's one of the things that we lost because of the Golos. That's what Golos is. Boom, everything's split apart. Like we just don't know any longer. Except we have right the Gemara grapples with the hargation that a person has, and a person can feel. I don't think it's as easy as just going to some guy in up north, and he tells you, okay, this is your neshama, this is your Gilgal of this. Maybe if they know something, I don't know where they know it from. I've looked at least, I've glanced at a lot of svarim. They don't tell us. They don't tell you these kind of things. So I don't know how they know it. I don't know where they know it from.
On a Nazi level, that's what Chazal tells Chanach L'Na'ar Pidach.
Salios?
Chanach L'Na'ar Pidach.
Simple as that.
And
Simple as that.
Brisa,
Simple as that. There's one of those psukim that it's like Bizman Shebeis Hamikdash Hayakayim.
Now.
Yeah. Every time I see an ad for a school or yeshiva, absolute individualized attention, it's baloney. Why do they say that? This is a school. I mean, I can understand a different thing. Like, let's make a school, if you feel this is for your neshama. Like, you go to Brisk, I went to Brisk. You go to Brisk, it's for a certain type of person. Dafka wasn't for me, I left. I left. I was there, spent 6 months getting in, and 6 months getting out. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It just, wasn't for me. But everybody, for other people, it's a, what's the shaila? Big Talmidei Chachamim, and huge people, and it's a certain kind of a zach, So, people went to Panovich before the war, the breakup of Panovich. So, the Panovich war. It was very, very different. I can tell you when I was yeshiva, it was very different than being a brisker, was being a Panovich, being a Chaverder. So that I understand, different yeshivas for different people, and I even understand that yeshivas should be very particular who they take in, because you don't want to have the wrong kind of person in your yeshiva. This is not your thing, I know the yeshivas of Mekubalim. I went to Avat Shalom with Rabbi Yaacov Haber, Shlit'a, and he was very, very particular. It's both in learning, but also in the type of. I think I always tell a story when I went to Brisk with Beryl Soloveitchik, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. So I prepared for the test to get in. Like if you're going to say, you have to say the shtickle Torah, and then he goes and he slugs you up, and you have to be able to answer quickly. I was very nervous about it. And when I went in, he asked me, I must have said the story 100 times already, but I went in, he asked me, where are you from? So I said, Buffalo, New York. So he said, is that near Niagara Falls? Or I told him it's near Niagara Falls. He said, is that where the electricity all comes from? So I said, yes. So he says to me, how did that work? How do you get electricity for the whole, Niagara frontier from waterfalls? So I just started to explain a little bit what I understood about generators and things like that. He says, "Okay, you can come to the yeshiva." Babash did not want to hear my shtickle Torah. It was the last thing that he wanted to hear was my Torah. But then we can think. If you think about things, are you intelligent? That's what that's. Anyways, my point is that different schools for different folks, and different neshamas have different things, and we need to be aware of that for ourselves. We need to be, and this all manifests itself in the world of machshava. All manifests itself in the world of machshava. So let's just do a little bit of Nefesh HaChaim, because that's what we came here for. Again, we're talking about how, not so much about how Hashem affects our machshava, but how our machshava affects Hashem. That's what we're talking about. Omar David HaMelech Olav Shalom, Perek Yudal. Hayotzer Yachad Libam HaMevin El Kol Ma'aseim. Pasuk in Tilim, Lama Gimel, that everyone's familiar with. Hayotzer Yachad Libam. He created, now you see here the world of Yitzira, yeah? Because Leiv, just to be medayik here, Hayotzer Yachad Libam, whenever you see a reference to Leiv, it's always a reference to the world of Yitzira. Klal Gadol B'Tilim. When you see Leiv, you talk about Yitzira. Hayoitzer Yachad Liba. Not just Leiv is made Yitzira. Many things. The Yitzira is basically the world of Malachim, and Yitzira is the world of the beginning of the period of division. And the Leiv is divided into two. Let's call it Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Hatov. That division cannot take place in the world of Bria because there is no division in the world of Bria. So what happens is the neshama goes from the world of Bria, walks into the world of Yetzirah, and the Malachim start going at it, and it's like separating Siamese twins. All of a sudden, there's two parts to the person. So part of me wants to do this. Yetzer Hara, Yetzer Hatov. That's all in the Leiv. Yetzer.
Does it go Moach, Lev, Yadayim, something, the three like that also? Or-
I mean, also Machshava Divrei Maisa, but Leiv. One second, but you're confusing. Yetzer Hara is a function of the Leiv, hence the word Yotzer Yachad Libam, the world of Yetzer. Yetzer Hatov. They're both a function of division, the beginning of division, the sort of division within us. Ki Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Minura. Listen to the pasuk. Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Minura. The Leiv is where the evil starts to creep in. In the world of Yetzirah, this happened already. In the world of Bria, there is no Tov v'Ra, there's no Or v'Choshech. In the world of Bria, there's no divisions. Echad. The only place where division begins is that Yetzirah becomes more so in the world of Asiya, where everything is divided and divided and subdivided, hence we have the situation that we have. But everything has to be, this paper is different than this paper. Different type, it's separated, that's this world, Asiya. Our job is actually to divide things even more. What's a good lamdan? A good lamdan is somebody who can make distinctions. It's not somebody who can put things together. This reminds me of that reminds me of this, reminds me of that. Abarts. This is different than that, this is different than that. You can't compare the two things. Talmud Chacham. That's a lamdan where you can divide things and subdivide. So, we used to talk about nutrients, now we talk about micronutrients. We used to talk about things, now we talk about molecules. It's the more advanced science gets, the more divided things are, the more distinctions there are to this world. Very important. Very important, because we're in the world of distinction. We're in the world of Asiya, we're in the world of Pirud. But when we talk about Leiv, which is the beginning, the internal Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Minuro, that's where the Ra sets in. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not going to destroy the world anymore. Yetzer Leiv Ha'adam Ra Minuro. I'm not going to, like this is an evil, this was part of my creation. Now, that being said, it's our job to be kovish, to work on that. That's our challenge, but that's where it all begins. It doesn't begin. The shorish, do you see what we're learning here today? The shorish of the neshama is, which has to do with machshava. That's how you activate the neshama, machshava, what you think about. That's why it's so important to think and learning. The shorish of the neshama is in the world of Bria. Let's call that the world of Kisei HaKavod. The shorish of the Leiv is in the world of Yetzirah. And there's Malachim. That's where Malachim come about. There's no Malachim in Bria, apparently. One of the things the Malachim are busy with is sorting out these neshamas and making them. And then we're born into this world, Cholavavcha, B'shnei Yitzrecha, Chazal say. Shnei Yitzrecha. Two parts, two things in here that Yitzirah gave me, my neshama. We need to understand this about ourselves. There's two parts. What about the guy who doesn't seem to have the Yetzer Hara? Nebuch. He missed the whole world of Yetzirah. Okay, maybe there's certain neshamas like that come straight into this. Maybe there's such a thing. But that's not what we're meant to be. That's maybe some unusual thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates these Lamed Vav Tzadikim or Tzadik Ador or something like that. That's a different shmooze. But when we talk about, so says Rebbe Chaim Volozhin, very meduyak. If you just read this, you're not reading this, but I'm telling you this is what it means. Hayoitzer yachad libam, ha'mevin al kol ma'aseim. Goes from leiv to maisa. Goes from Yitzira to Asiyah. Look at the two worlds. From Yitzira. You know, what's very interesting, by the way, is I hope that all these hakdamas are. First of all, I hope they're useful, but I hope you remember them for this for the next few shiurim, because these concepts are very, very important. Really, I don't usually say this. Really worth understanding this and chazering it over, getting the worlds clear. But Yotzer Aru Borei Choshech, Oseh Shalom, Boreas Hakol. So it's interesting that in the world of Yotzer Or, Uborei Choshech, counterintuitive, because the Or is in the world of Yitzira, the world of division, and Choshech is in the world of Bria, which is a higher world. So the higher world is darker. Like why would that be? Ayin in Daras Eliyahu Bereshis from the Vilna Gaon, page 3, where he brings from his father why it says Yotzer Uvorei Choshech. The upshot of the thing is that the world, Hashem created the world Choshech, and then he divided out the Or. The Or is divided out. Choshech, I mentioned many times, is a default position. You can't block Choshech. You can only block light. You can contain light, nobody sees it, like one of those Shabbos lamps. Go put the darkness in the Shabbos lamp. You go try to can darkness. Can't do it. So because darkness is a default situation of the world. Yotzer Or, that's already division. Before that, there was Choshech. Tanya and Chavav tells us that it's important to understand from this that Choshech is a higher world. And what you don't understand is more important than what you do understand. Because what you do understand is in the world of Yitzira, maybe the world of Asiyah. What you don't understand is even higher. What you don't understand, what seems like Choshech means you don't know where you're going, like Ani Avavashesh Ba'afelo. What you don't understand means that it's coming from a higher world. Sometimes what the lashon of the Balatanya comes from the Olam the Iskasia, the covered world. Sometimes what's covered, like you look at a Sefer Torah, so what's more, the outside has cover, the outside you're kissing it, the outside. But what's really important there is what's on the inside, right? So, Olam the Iskasia. Olam the Iskasia is more chashuv. The Hayatzarech Loimar Hamevin Kol Maseim. The correct pasuk, if we would be writing this pasuk, we would not write Hamevin El Kol Maseim. We would write Hamevin Kol Maseim. Hashem understands all of our baisim. So what's that El for? He understands that which leads to our baisim. Soif Maisa Machshava Tchila. Labal of Perek Yud Beis. I spoke about the part of the pasuk he says, which have to do with Maasehem. Now I'm going to show you what that El is for, leading to, and that has to do with Machshava more than anything else, because that's where every Maisa comes from. Unless you're an Oinus, which you're pater from, unless you're a Shoigeg, that you're pater from. There's so much to say, no time to say it, but I just... just let me remind you this, that the Maral. Maral says that the reason why you find there's 39 makas. A person gets 39 makas if you do an Avera. Lashon of the Mishnah is how many makas do you get, Yaakov? Arba'im Chazar Achas. They didn't know how to say 39. The amount of malachas that there are is 39. What's the Lashon of the Mishnah? Arba'im Chazar Achas. It doesn't say Chamishim Chazar Achas. It doesn't say anything else Chazar Achas. It's a funny lashon of Chazal. So the Maral explains that you see the Gemara Nida Daf Lamed that says that in Ad Arboim Yoim, when a woman conceives, until 40 days, Maya Ba'alma, It has a din of mayim. The embryo has a din of mayim. It's not even called a person, really. This has a lot of pasot to halacha, the Gemara. But until 40 days, maya ba'alma. And then from 40 days on, it starts to be called a person lagabi different inyanim, depends on what. So the Gemara is direct that, Amar of Levi, that on 39 days, the Kodesh Baruch Hu's bona the guf, Gidin, Shririn, Gemara talks about. B'yoim har boyim nizrak boy neshama. Interesting lashon. Nizrak boy neshama. So really, says the Maral, there's 39 and 1, or there's 40 minus 1. You give makas to a person, so you really give him 40 makas because it takes 40 days. You violated your creation, which takes 40 days. Hold on, my neshama didn't do nothing. My neshama, I violated my neshama. Neshama's screaming at me. So it's okay. Arboim chaser achas. Get it? That's arboim chaser achas is 40 minus 1. 40 minus 1 means 40 minus the neshama. Same thing with Melech Shabbos. Wherever else you'll see that lashon. So Chazal are bedayik at every word that they say. There's a reason why they said what they said. The Likud is that there's the world of Baisa, there's the world of Dibur, there's the world of Neshama. The Neshama is the Achas. Always called, by the way, Achas. Achas. It's always called Achas in the liturgy. Always called Achas.
Abayim 40 mitzvahs of blood. That's specifically 40.
That's when the Baskol
Right.
comes
So
up.
that's
Why is that our boy Yoim?
Not 39.
I don't know if it's connected. That's a very important question, which everybody speaks about. What happens? Our boy Yoim Koyda Bavlat. It's a very interesting. Usually they start talking about inducing you. like our boy Yoim Koyda Bavlat. I just had a vice. I was talking to somebody. It was like they want to do a C-section. Like I said, why? What did you do today? Yeah, but they're worried.
Yeah.
I said, Babish interrupting the Baskol in the middle of a sentence here. He's going to stare a shidduch. This is going to stare a shidduch. Our boy Yoim Koyda Bavlat Baskol. Bachrezes, Riveris, Basploidy, Laploidy, like unless it's really indicated medically, like what are you doing here? Okay, that's a different. Got all my opinions on everything here today. Education, childbirth. I got to talk about everything. Okay, let's leave it with this. There's a lot to say, but the Hakdama is important. But our sugya is Mir Hashem Sunday. We talk about the sugya of Machshava, the sugya of Neshama, the sugya of Bria. That's the three that we're talking about.
David Schoenberg.